The island of Guam today looks like most other South Pacific paradises. Palm trees, sandy beaches, beautiful flowers. But beneath the surface of this tranquil island is a complicated history, and one that shares parallels with Alaska during the Second World War. Only hours after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Japanese troops attacked Guam, quickly overwhelming the token force of U.S. Marines stationed on the island. Alaska would later join Guam in the ranks of territories invaded by Japan when troops came ashore on the Aleutian islands of Attu and Kiska. But on Guam, the occupation would last longer and be more devastating to the people of the island.
People are familiar with the story of Pearl Harbor and the attack and the devastation that was wrought on the facilities on Oahu. Many people don't realize the full extent of Japanese occupation that came to Guam. Guam wasn't just attacked by the Japanese. Guam was invaded and occupied. And the Chamorro people can really speak to that.
The Japanese occupation lasted nearly 3 full years, during which Guam's native Chamorro people suffered for their allegiance to the U.S. But the tide of the war turned, and America began retaking the islands of Micronesia on the way to the Japanese home islands. On July 21st of 1944, U.S. Marines came ashore, facing heavy fire from Japanese pillboxes and fixed guns. Despite stiff resistance, the U.S. forces established a beachhead and pushed the Japanese back into the mountains above the beaches.
It became very important for Tokyo and for the Japanese homeland to see the Marianas defended to the last, because it really was the last perimeter before the homeland.
Looking down over the battle was a heavily fortified Japanese bunker on the Fonte Plateau, where Generals Takeshi Takashina and Hideyoshi Obata had overseen the war in the Marianas Islands. Now, with U.S. forces fast approaching, they were forced to confront the fact that they could no longer hold the Allied forces back from the Japanese home islands. In this concrete bunker, the dream of a Japanese empire stretching across the Pacific died.
It proved to be exactly as the Japanese expected. The Americans seized the Marianas and immediately began transforming them into the gigantic military bases, the largest military bases in the Pacific.
When the Battle of Guam ended 3 weeks after the American landing, nearly 2,000 Americans and more than 18,000 Japanese soldiers were dead, as were about 1,000 of the native Chamorro people who had been killed both in the battle and the occupation. The combined death toll nearly equaled the island's total population when the war began. In modern times, America and Japan remain the dominant forces in life on Guam. The U.S. military bases and Japanese tourism are vital components of the economy. But while visitors today may pay little heed to the island's war-torn history, it's a lesson worth remembering.
Everybody who was fighting here was flesh and blood, was human. Nobody wanted to be here. All answered a call for different reasons, but all suffered, all participated, and all suffered. And it's our hope that that as we strive continually toward peace, that peace will come by people realizing that all were human, just like themselves.
Reporting from Guam, I'm Tom Hewitt for CBS News 13.